Hey, profs. Welcome on in. My name's Rob Lightfoot, proud two-time alum of Rick Edelman College of Communication, class of 2000-2001. This is Beyond the Brown and Gold.
I'm Jessica Kennedy. I'm the co-host here, also a two-time proud Rowan alum, class of 2008 from the Rick Edelman College of Communication and Creative Arts, and 2015 from the College of Education. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Rowan Radio 89.7 WGLS FM presents Beyond the Brown and Gold, a show that highlights the lives and memories of Glassboro State and Rowan University alumni. Now, here are your hosts, Rob Lightfoot and Jessica Kennedy.
On today's show, special guest, Rowan Radio alum. That's not the most exciting part.
No.
About Michael Licisyn.
No.
It's just the very start of what makes him fun. Tell us more, Rob.
Yeah, sure. So Mike, radio, TV, film alum from back in the day here, went on to do a bunch of like little small independent stuff, but then he happens to work for this small organization called, I don't know, the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah. He's a two-time Emmy award-winning filmmaker, cinematographer, and editor. He joined the Phillies in 2013, and we talked to Mike about the Emmy wins, the independent filmmaking, and how he got really his start right here at Rowan.
And the idea of just being a fan and also now working for the organization and what that looks like for him. So it's kind of cool.
It's kind of like how I feel about us, like working at Rowan, right? Like we're big fans and now we work here.
Yeah.
Kind of
great ambassadors.
Very similar, right?
Very similar.
Similar story. Enjoy Mike's story.
Okay, Mr. Frog, I'm sorry to say, but your mortgage is 4 times overdue. We're going to have to evict you from your swamp.
I gave the letter to Miss Piggy in the mail. I guess he hasn't mailed it yet. You sure you didn't get it? There's nothing that you can do?
I'm sorry, Mr. Frog, there's nothing we can do.
You're gonna have to pry me out of here, because I don't plan on moving. You're gonna have to try and find me.
The Incision of a Warped Mind with Mike and Carmen.
Rowan Radio Rock.
So when was the last time that you were in WGLS studios?
Oh my gosh, it has to be at least 10 years.
Really?
It really does. And it's funny how much looks the same and how much changes. It's like, yeah, you remember everything, like the reel-to-reel machine in this studio is exactly where it always was. And but like I was saying earlier, I was walking through Bozarth Hall, and it's all drywall now. Like the yellow tile that made it look like an elementary school is all gone.
Kind of miss it.
I do. It actually feels narrower and a little like it has less personality.
Yeah,
like,
it's more corporate. It's more corporate, right?
I was trying to peek into some classrooms, but there are classes going on. I'm like, oh, this is going to be weird. I should keep going.
But if you remember back in the day, they had lockers. So the lockers have been
did.
swapped out for those cases so they can put up all of their awards and accomplishments and other dressings. So.
Now, you guys didn't overlap, the two of you, right? Because Mike and I overlapped you were 06, I was 08, so a couple of years.
No, we didn't overlap. But you
were around the studio.
Yeah, I was like a bad penny.
We still can't get rid of him.
Exactly.
No,
you invited me back. It's your problem.
Well, you were always known as doing, especially the Christmas Eve show with Derek.
Yes, yes.
That was always the biggest show of the year.
And still things don't change, Mike.
I love it.
Playing enough Perry Como on Christmas morning.
But you spent a lot of time in these studios as a student, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I was a commuter, so I had no dorm to go to. So when I wasn't in class or doing anything, I was here at the studio. Mm-hmm. And whether it was literally just sitting around and hanging out with people, I remember, I think it was Mark Thompson set up an emulator of Tecmo Bowl on the computer in the back, and we would play Tecmo Bowl. Or I'd just sit here, go into the roundtable studio and just do homework or catch up on reading. Because again, I didn't have a dorm to go back to. It was like, why drive all the way back home? So I just hung out here, and that's where I spent so much of my free time.
Did you choose Rowan because it was close to where you grew up?
So Rowan was, I hate to say this, it was my fourth choice.
Oh, wow. 4? Wow.
Can we name the other ones? Like, are they still in business?
They are still. Okay. They are still in business. The first one, NYU, just could not afford.
Okay.
Yeah. Temple University of Arts was, well, that's an arts degree, and to my parents, it wasn't a real degree. So we ended up here at Rowan, which I still went for radio, TV, film.
So basically a stiff wind brought you here. That's what basically what I'm hearing. Like,
but it was local enough, but I certainly made the most of what I could. And finding the station here is where I kind of helped find my identity while I was at the school. And I gained a lot of skills while I was here that I still use in my day-to-day job.
And did you join the station right away in your freshman?
Absolutely. It was one of the first things I did as soon as I got here. As a matter of fact, I joined late, and so there wasn't an open slot, so they paired me up on an early bird show with Paul Gronowski. And Paul and I did the early bird show on one of those mornings because he was one of the few that wasn't paired up. They would only pair up like Microgroove or early bird, like those specialty shows or the rock shows, but not the normal like 9 to 5 daytime. I got paired up with Paul, and that's where I got to bring some of my goofiness in it. Like we had a reoccurring segment called Dramatic Interpretations of Today's Popular Music, where I would read.
Frank probably loved that.
He never told me no. But I think Derek found it funny. And so basically the basic premise was I would read the lyrics of popular songs at the time, like I was in a poetry slam, and Paul would be there banging on the table like it was bongos and doing the backup vocals. So it was like Bring Me to Life, Evanescence was big at the time. So it was like, wake me up inside. I can't. Wake up. And then you realize how
things they let us do on the air here. It's really, they really should stop.
Explore the space though. They really should.
But it was good. Like that was kind of my humor. Like my childhood hero was Weird Al, and I grew up like as a geeky kind of pop culture nerd, and I like doing weird things, and that's kind of where I found my avenue. My time as promo director here had some really wacky stuff going on, like where promoting even my own rock show. Carmen Marino and we were doing like Yoda impressions and Rocky Balboa and Kermit the Frog impressions in our spots that were playing during the daytime. And I'm sure anybody who's listening to it, just hears Journey, and then they go into like us talking like, like making these sounds. We had one where Chewie goes in for a job interview.
Oh, I love that.
And
idea.
it's Derek on the other side, like, Chewie, how are you doing today? And it's just that the whole spot. And like that's where I found a lot of my goofy outlet, and I did a lot of that here, or at least as far as they would let me get away with.
You were also involved in RTN though, right?
I was not. I was involved in Cinema Workshop.
Oh, okay. Because RTN and I don't know if it was like this when you were here, but I felt like it was like you couldn't be in RTN and Rowan Radio. So you had to choose one.
It was almost like two like Sharks and the Jets. Like it was down to like. If you were RTN or you GLS, and there was no mixing.
Cinema Workshop makes sense because I don't think we had any.
We weren't threatened by them. Sorry, I apologize.
I mean, and even in Cinema Workshop, I only did a handful of things there. I did 2 films, one of which was a complete unmitigated disaster. We shot with 16mm film, the first and only time I've ever shot a sync sound film with film, like actual real film.
Yep.
And what you know is like it's 400 feet. So you get 3 reels, 400 feet. That's about 12 minutes a reel. We shoot through the first reel. It goes fine. And we were shooting back on the green here at Bunce. And it was a stupid film called Strolling Minstrel, where a guy dressed up as like a Shakespearean minstrel is trying to impress a girl with a guitar and just being goofy. And in the end, he gets beat up. The second reel, our DP found out that when he was changing out the magazines, it fell off the take-up reel. So you have 2 reels. So it's going from one film through the gate where it's getting the image, and then going through another reel to collect it. Well, it fell off, which meant the entire reel had a scratch on it, which meant it was unusable. So when we had to reshoot...
What did you get for this project, an F?
So we then had to reshoot it, and the third reel... We go through it, and then we find out at the end that the battery on the camera started waning, but the indicator was broken. There will be an indicator light that'll tell you. So that means the film started rolling at about 18 frames a second. Well, film runs at 24 frames a second, which means none of the sound would sync up. So everything then looked like a Charlie Chaplin movie.
Oh, my God.
And so we had 3 reels of film. 2 of them were just destroyed. We still finished the movie. It looked terrible because we digitally altered it to try to fix it. And that was the last time I ever shot on film.
What a good learning experience,
but
though.
This might have been why the kids here weren't so scared about the Cinema Workshop people. Like,
We've been through the trenches. We've been through it all. Like you come out like Mad Max at the end of it.
Yeah, no. I would be remiss to say, too, I am not a movie watcher at all. I just don't have the focus for
Really?
that. I just can't. I cannot watch movies. It's just taking me too long. I need 20 seconds, 30 seconds. That's
20 seconds?
Not 20 seconds, but I mean, I find it funny because I watch QVC because I'm like, sell me a spatula in 5 minutes and then move on to something else, right?
Yeah.
Give me some Tupperware.
Are you buying spatulas a lot?
No.
Okay.
But I'm saying this to say, you referenced Weird Al. One movie I will watch. There's only a couple movies that I will watch since they're like just classics in my head. UHF.
I just watched that yesterday.
I gotta tell you, it is one of my favorite. It's never on TV, but if it's on, I think it's on Amazon Prime. I will watch that all the time. One of the funniest movies ever, but they reference spatulas in the movie, which is why.
There's a whole store, it's a warehouse store called Spatula City, and all they do is sell spatulas.
I'm actually in the market for a spatula, if we're being honest.
Spatula City!
You gotta go.
I was at Home Goods the other day. I was like, I definitely need to buy this. I need them in different sizes, but the line was too long, so I was like, no, I'll come back another time.
I don't want to miss that point, that jump off point,
Okay.
but yes.
Fair
Movies like that really influenced me. Again, Weird Al's my childhood hero, and so I like movies like Airplane, the Naked Gun movies.
Napoleon Dynamite?
I mean, that came out actually while I was here, and I like it, don't get me wrong, but like there's something about those 80s comedies that just has my sensibility. Like I loved Monty Python as well, Monty Python and Holy Grail, even though that was 75. But UHF, like it was just... It really kind of set my comedic sensibility. And again, you saw some of that with what I did here at the radio station. And funny enough, Weird Al, he got his name in college, and he adopted it as his radio DJ name. And that's how he kind of professionally started going by Weird Al. He had a late night show where he would just play goofy music, like the Dr. Demento show or other things like that. And to a degree, I tried to do that a little bit, but we still had to fit within a certain format. So we had our Weird Al Song of the Week, where you're hearing college rock, and then all of a sudden you hear Weird Al screaming, and it's like, now it's time for the Weird Al Song of the Week, and then we're playing like Smells Like Nirvana, or like one of it, or White and Nerdy, or one of his parodies.
So what else did you do while you were here? You were in Cinema Workshop. You were in Rowan Radio. You were just making movies on the side then yet, or did that come after?
I've been making movies on the side ever since I was a kid. I mean, picking up my parents' video camera, making little stop motion videos, or my G.I. Joes or my action figures would be my stars. And then I joined drama club in middle school, and I realized, oh wait, there are people who will be stupid for you. Like, I don't have to do it. Yeah. So I was able to convince all my friends to be actors in these movies. And don't get me wrong, they're unwatchable now. They're terrible. But that's kind of how I got my start. And even while I was here at Rowan, I still was making movies on the side. And I was in film festivals. There was a parody music video I made that actually aired on Total Request Live when that was still a thing.
Carson Daly.
I used to love that show.
I always had to do it, like just this need to create. That was kind of my outlet. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. Like I grew up a geek. I grew up a nerd. That was kind of an outcasty thing growing up, and it's kind of funny now that all the things I loved that I was made fun of for are now the most popular things. Star Wars, Marvel Comics, Nintendo.
Is there a little bit of you like, ha?
And there is. There's a little bit of like, I was right.
Yeah.
And see, what I liked wasn't so stupid after all. Mm-hmm. And so I always had that sentiment where it's like when I was creating, that kind of helped me get past that shyness and being an outcast.
It's like a little bit of an outlet for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even in films after I left Rowan, I was still coming back to campus and shooting. Like my feature film that I made after I graduated, which ironically was about the horrors of, not, I shouldn't say horrors, but the anxieties of graduating as an artist. And like, well, how do you make money? How do you go out and be an artist in this world? And we shot scenes here on campus for that.
I imagine many graduates have that still and parents have that anxiety about it.
I feel the movie still holds up. It's called No Footing. You can view it online for free on YouTube. But yeah, we shot the graduation scene literally right in front of Bunce Hall. We shot a sequence in, one of the engineering buildings, but they have like an auditorium built room in there that we had to shoot a scene in.
That's all good stuff. So the company that you're the co-founder of Mixed Nuts Production, are you still with You still do that? Who's
Absolutely.
Who's your other co-founder?
Well, he was my best friend growing up, Gene. He doesn't do it anymore. He kind of got away from the movie making stuff in high school. But I never want to take full credit. Like he was the one who's doing it with me. And we called it Mixed Nuts because it literally started as a VHS tape. And it was just a series of sketches. And we're like, oh, it's like a can of mixed nuts. That's how we are. We're like, you don't know what you're going to get next when you open it up and pull something out.
So smart.
And also, since it was goofy and silly, nuts, it all seemed to kind of fit. But yeah, we still do it. Gosh, even for a while, we were pretty popular on YouTube with a web series that we did called Living in 8 Bits, where it was making fun of retro video games. And we actually had like a cult following in the retro video game community on YouTube. Which
is kind of cool. I mean, that's
yeah.
It's a thing. And now look at how, like, what is the platform where the kids play the video games?
Oh, Twitch.
Yeah. Which is a huge thing now, where these kids essentially just watch other kids play video games on, I don't understand why, but they do. They do for whatever reason.
You can't even watch a movie. Imagine you had to watch somebody else play a video game.
Yeah, no, I can't even be bothered with that stuff. Forget that. But I do want to go back to your point of, all right, you created this movie about the anxiety of graduating with this sort of creative degree. Let's real life it now. So, like, you graduate from Rowan, you've got this degree.
What do you do with it?
What do you do?
Well, exactly, and that's kind of where.
And what did you do with it?
And that's kind of where that came from. So I made that in 2009. I graduated in 2006. So those 3 years was a lot of experience, I guess you would say, because when I graduated, when you're doing film, TV, anything in the arts, there's no set path. There's no direct and I don't say this to diminish other careers. But like when you're an accountant, there's a lot of opportunities to be an accountant without having to pick up your whole life and leave. You can be an accountant almost anywhere. In film and TV and radio, it's a little different. It's a little more of a niche thing, especially from a coastal standpoint. And it's
especially
not as
when
big.
You're first starting out.
Exactly, and it's not like that in South Jersey. So
we actually credit that for the reason we're not stars. Right, Rob?
Not yet. Not yet, Jess.
Yeah.
I would argue differently.
Thank you are. Mike, it all took you 30 seconds here. We're trying to fish for compliments over here. Come on now.
But like I actually started substitute teaching for a little bit. I was doing a lot of any indie film projects that came up that paid like $100 a day, which is not something that you can live on, obviously. I did a lot of medical video, like supplemental content for publishers where it's like, go to 5-1 to see how this procedure was done. And then you find this gross dermatology procedure that I never want to see again in my life.
Now they make full shows about that. Rob, would you watch that?
I would, actually. I'd find that really interesting.
I'll never forget when the doctor said something like, you're either going to think this is the most awesome thing you ever see or the most disgusting thing you ever see. And it was the latter for me.
Okay, all right.
I even taught for a little bit. I taught at a film camp teaching kids how to make films for about 6 years at Main Stage Center for the Arts. So I was doing all sorts of different things while making my own movies on the side. And that's kind of why I made No Footing. It was for artists everywhere that aren't sure what they're going to do with this degree, that it kind of, for the initial going and the initial struggle, feels worthless. It's almost like, did I waste my life trying to pursue this dream? And it has different artists in there who have different levels of what they consider success. Like one of the main characters is a guidance counselor who wanted to be a big theater director and actor. Well, he's happy being a guidance counselor and working for the school drama club. Like, to him, that's happiness because he found what he's happy at. Our main character majored in art and graphic design and is coming to terms with, all right, maybe you're not going to be like this portrait painter that becomes suddenly famous and selling for millions of dollars, but find worth and value in your art. So that's kind of what the film is about, and helped me figure out my direction in my career, because I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to win an Oscar tomorrow.
But you might win an Emmy.
Foreshadow.
Look at that. We could maybe put some reverb on that part there so it sounds like we had actually effect in this thing.
I actually wanted to ask you, what was the more exciting win, that World Series ring or the Emmy win? I know we're kind of skipping ahead.
Yeah.
But
I mean, my first Emmy and winning the Phillies winning the pennant kind of came back to back.
But when did you start with the Phillies?
So I was still teaching for a little bit and freelancing up until 2012 or 2013, excuse me. And the one thing I didn't have on my reel, like I said, I had indie film, music videos, corporate, medical, but the one thing I didn't have was sports. And so I needed something sports related, but to get into it at that time, I really had no access and I had no contacts in that industry. So through a friend of my dad, a mutual friend knew Dan Baker, who is the Phillies public address announcer,
Rowan
legendary announcer, Rowan alum, 52 seasons, I believe now at this point with the Phillies. Just on a whim, reached out to him and said, hey, can I do a 5-minute demo video just on your career to add it to my reel to kind of, give me some sports to show me how I can shoot a sports story. Mm-hmm. And Dan, if you've ever met him, is the consummate nicest guy in the world, the eternal optimist, dear friend. He said on a whim, yes. So I do this video in 2012, and by the next spring, the Phillies were reaching out to me if I was interested in taking a entry-level position, which was a little scary at the time because I was about to turn 30, going for what would essentially be a job that people when they're 22 were going for. But
what did that job look like? What does an entry-level job?
A lot of it was logging highlights and game melts. Yeah. So logging baseball footage. But I wanted my foot in the door, and I said yes. And so the summer of 2013, I would be teaching in the day from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and then I would then drive to the stadium and be there from like 3:30 to 11. And I did that for an entire summer, which I don't recommend doing from a mental standpoint, hours working wise. But that's how I really got my foot in the door. And it was part-time. I was part-time at the Phillies then for 6 years. And I would make pump videos, rally videos that we would show on the scoreboard. I would be editing all of our baseball highlights into our server. And more, I was just given more responsibility and more. And that's how then I ended up becoming full-time. And now I've been full-time since 2019.
But I think the takeaway here, too, is for folks, especially the RTF folks, or actually really any industry for young people coming out of school, is get a little bit more aggressive, right? If we're going to talk about the career, I just had this conversation with my nephew. He's getting to the point where he's heading into his junior year, and I'm like, well, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? You've got to start like banging on doors. Nobody's going to be coming to you to say, oh, you want to work here? No. Mm-hmm. Start building out your network on LinkedIn now. Start being more proactive, which it sounds like which you were, and you were willing to pay the time too, right? You've got to put the time in to be able to get there. We're not going to go from, it's very rare that we go from here's your diploma to being right in front of the camera and calling the game or getting the head job, right? So
oh, absolutely. And I had to, and even when I got there, I had to earn my stripes and earn the trust. I mean, that is a Major League Baseball team. There are a lot of eyes on what goes out there. We can't, you can't put out amateur level content. You got to have quality in there. Well, I like to think my content is quality. I like to think that I'm pretty good at my job. If you go to a Phillies game, our department has a hand in everything that you experience at the game. We produce all the content you see on all the video boards in the stadium. Everything you hear and see goes through our department, which is Phillies Productions, and also Fanavision. So a lot of what I do, I produce a lot of the hype videos that you see on the screen, especially before the team takes the field. We call it the open video. And it's a minute to minute 15 hype video to get the fans really immersed, really excited as the team takes the field. So we introduced a new aspect to it where we had like a light show. So before the team took the field, the stadium went completely black. And the fans had no idea this was coming. And then all of a sudden the lights are flashing and the video's showing and it really got fans hyped up and pumped up. Like that all went through us. I was the editor on the video. Our graphics department did all the side graphics. And a couple people, my boss included, sat there with the lighting designer and designed the whole light show. So we have a team of about, I don't know the exact number, maybe about 12 to 15 people full-time who create all this. When you're in the game and you're watching it, in between innings, we want to keep fans engaged. You'll see features on the scoreboard, like Ask the Phillies is one of our most popular one, where we ask the players goofy questions. Like one of our favorites from this past year was, what's in Brandon Marsh's beard? and people had funny answers, or we ask them, it's like, what was your favorite song growing up? What's a song that gets you on the dance floor? Like personality questions to get to know the players. Well, that's stuff that keeps the fans engaged. We produce all that in-between content, but then also while the game's in progress, we'll also have crowd prompts. So like in between pitch, we'll have a graphic that pops up that says make noise or get loud. We'll have like noise meters. One of our popular things that we did during the 2022 playoffs, we shot a hype video with Jason Kelce of the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's him just yelling at the camera like, get up, get out. And if you're curious, Todd Zalecki just wrote an article about this on Phillies.com. Like, we'll produce stuff like that. And through that, I've gotten to do stuff with Jason Kelce, Charles Barkley. One of my dreams, or made me so happy as a fan, I got to do it with the cast of Boy Meets World this past year. I've done a video.
They're doing it. I think they have a podcast.
They have a podcast.
They do.
Where is Corey? Is he?
That I don't know. Apparently, he's running for Congress.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea that was a thing. Okay, I've just been personally wondering that, so I'm glad. Okay.
We also did it with Rob McElhenney and Caitlin Olsen from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So it's like when we get celebrities in, I'll get to film them doing these hype videos, and then we edit it and put it on the screen. If the team is down or tied in a later inning and you need somebody to get pumped up, we'll play a hype video. So it's all that content that you'll see in the ballpark. I also, and this is where my Rowan Radio stuff comes in handy, I also edit our TV and radio commercials. So when you're watching the game on TV, you'll see commercials promoting upcoming games or upcoming giveaways, or just a general hype video, 30-second spot. A lot of that goes through me. If you're listening on the radio, I'm producing a lot of the radio spots. We'll get Scott Fransky down. I'll record maybe 2 months worth of spots at a time, and I'll edit it all together. And well, it's really funny, when I first started doing it, I would record a scratch track myself doing it so I could do the edit before we laid Scott in. And people were like, oh, you have a radio voice. You have experience doing that. I'm like, well, yes, I do. I did it at Rowan Radio, 89.7 WGLS.
You ever done the Chewbacca impression? Funny you should ask.
So I do a lot of that. And also at the games, I'm also in the dugouts or in the camera wells filming cinematic game footage that we'll use for marketing, that we'll use for these hype videos, all that. There's sometimes where there's games where it's like I'm out there shooting. It's like, oh, man, this is not going well. Why am I still doing it? And then Bryce Harper hits his 300th career home run.
Yeah.
And we captured this major moment that we're then getting requests. I don't know if you saw Sunday Night Football had a piece with Bryce Harper not too long ago. That footage was ours that I sent them. That I happened to be out there shooting with another one of our shooters who was an intern is a Rowan student, Lee Kotzen. And he actually got this angle of Harper kissing his jersey. And he's one of the only people who got that angle of it, and it then got asked to use on Sunday Night Football. So sometimes you never know what's going to happen. I mean, that's the beauty of sports. That's the beauty of baseball. And you kind of take your chances.
Now, you're a huge Phillies fan, right?
I am, yes.
Yeah. What's it like to be wearing a ring like that?
It is pretty surreal. I never meant to work in baseball. I always wanted to make movies. So I never, got out of college thinking like, oh, I'm gonna seek to work for a baseball team. Like if the Mets offered me a job, I'd be like, I don't want to work for the Mets. I don't want to work for, I have no interest or desire. But the Phillies have always been my number one sports team. Not only as a Philadelphia sports fan, as they are my number one team forever. And a lot of that comes with my dad was a big baseball fan, and so I would go to games with him. And we didn't have many interests, again, me being a geek and all that. We didn't share many interests, but we shared the love of baseball. And it was the first job I ever had that he understood. I lost my dad 4 years ago. And the reason why this ring is so important to me, before I started working at the Phillies, my dad ran into someone who I had graduated high school with, his dad. And he worked there for 2008 Phillies. And so his dad was saying, oh, I got this World Series ring. It's so cool. And my dad came home and was just like, you you heard about so-and-so and they got a World Series ring? Wouldn't that be so cool if you did that and you were working there and you got a ring? And it'll be 4 years soon that we lost my dad, so he never got to see this. But I'll right before Bryce Harper hit the Bedlam at the Bank home run, I'm in the dugout. If anybody remembers that game, it was pouring rain, only when we were pitching for some reason. And I looked up, I'm not making this up, I looked up to the sky and said, Dad, we need 2 runs. Mm-hmm. And then Bryce hits the home run. And so...
It's like he gave you the ring.
My dad's dream was to see our family name on one of these. So the night we got this, which was actually the day of the Michael Licisyn no-hitter, my dad was the first one who had to see the ring. Mm-hmm. So the next thing I did the next morning, I went to the cemetery to make sure he saw it first.
That's cool.
Oh, you're going to make me cry now.
Yeah. It is huge. It's a huge ring, by the way.
Yeah, you rock that every day or what?
It's the size of a small monitor for my,
It's like the size of an Apple face of a watch.
But I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I wear it every chance I get.
Yeah.
Because, one, I think of my dad. I think of how fortunate I am. I don't consider myself lucky because I don't consider myself getting there lucky. I consider myself fortunate to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And this doesn't come around often, as we saw this past off season, unfortunately. So I'm going to wear this with pride every chance that I get. And I don't care if it seems like I'm showing off.
It's got more diamonds than my wedding ring, so I'm jealous.
All right. And I don't wear watches. I've never been a jewelry guy. But
yeah, but honestly, if I have something like that, I'm putting that on.
Rob, I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
You're welcome to try it on.
I'd be like Flavor Flav. I'd have something big and gaudy around my neck. You know what I mean? It's so great. Be like, you're going to know. You're going to know that I work for the Phillies and we're doing this because I think it's a cool gig. You got to geek out. I mean, at some point, there's Mike the fan and there's Mike the Phillies employee. You're interacting with these athletes, which people would die to interact with on a regular basis, and here you are going in and that's your regular.
It is surreal at times. Like, I had lunch with Mike Schmidt before. I've interviewed Chase Utley. Anybody on the roster, I've met them and talked to them. Like, I was really tight with Aaron Nola. Reese Hoskins I was really tight with. I'm good with Brandon Marsh. Like, he'll always give me a fist bump when he sees me on the field.
How cool.
Was there anybody that you were really kind of like...
Can't say.
What?
Can't say that.
No, I'm not going to ask. I'm asking for the positive way.
Okay.
I was going to ask that, but we're not going to do that because obviously we'll do that offline. But is there anybody out there that kind of still makes you starstruck?
Oh gosh. You know what's? It's when I get to the older guard, like the Ryan Howards and the Chase Utleys.
Oh, because that was the formative years.
Yeah, like those were years where I was fans. Like, it's weird now. Like, I'm friends with Mickey Morandini. The 93. I was 9 years old for the 93 team. Like, I was the perfect age to be a baseball fan for that team. And the fact that I'm friends with Mickey. Yeah, like, we got our rings together. I have a picture with me and Mickey getting our rings. I do still sometimes get starstruck around them. Like, the current players, like, even, I mean, let's be honest, like, Bryce Harper is a superstar. Mm-hmm. I still get, like, nervous because it's like, oh my gosh, it's Bryce Harper. But he's a coworker. And he's always been great to me. He's done whatever we ask him to do. But there's still an element of, he's Bryce Harper. Oh my God, it's Bryce Harper.
Yeah, exactly.
And I still get that sometimes with, like, Mike Schmidt. I mean, I think of... all the alumni players that I've talked to. I know the whole 1980 team. I'm friends with Gary Matthews. Like, Sarge and I are buddies.
That's cool.
Like,
He's fun.
Like, it's weird. So I don't get as starstruck, I guess, anymore because there's a point where you have to separate that or else you can't do your job effectively.
Yeah. And a job that's earned you 2 Emmys, which is crazy.
Yes, I do have. I do have 2 of them. You were mentioning Flavor Flav earlier. My friends tell me I should put them around chains.
Yes.
But they're so heavy.
Just sorry, I can't wear these.
Just do it for a gimmick. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You're weighing me down.
Yeah.
But I do have 2 Emmys. They're just sitting in my living room. Does
weird. Everybody get an Emmy when you're so you win an Emmy and you're a big cast or you're a big crew or a production team? Everybody gets an Emmy?
It's whoever you submit when the names that you submit when you initially submit it.
Okay.
So the first one was I did with a couple coworkers. We did a video for Roy Halladay's number 34 retirement. So we retired Roy Halladay's number during the 2021 season. So it was our tribute video that we put out there, and has interviews with Charlie Manuel, Cole Hamels, Roy Oswalt, Kyle Kendrick. So, and I remember being in Philly. It was for the Mid-Atlantic Regional Emmys, and they said our name, and I'm like, that can't be real. And you go up there and you're holding it. It's like the first time I've ever held something like that. And I said, "This is for you, Dad." And I walked off stage, and they took it back.
Like, what?
Oh, what?
And it's like, no, you have to go to another room to get yours. They give you a prop one to hold on stage.
Wow.
This one's got chocolate inside.
But yeah, like I took it home, and like I would just hold it like in my lap.
Of course, because it's cool.
And then we got, then we won the pennant right after that. And then last year, the second Emmy is for a short film that I made, which is kind of my childhood culmination come together, where I actually do still fan out with the Philly Fanatic. Like, the Philly Fanatic is my sensibility of comedy. I grew up watching all the movies that Video Dan Stevenson used to make with him, like Channel Surfing Fanatic, Fanatic Goes Hollywood. Yeah, they're all meant for kids. But I had an opportunity to create an action-adventure movie. Sean Rainey, our director of video production, came to me with an idea before our fireworks shows last year. We wanted to do something that was a little above and beyond just, the fireworks going off.
Yeah.
And Game Entertainment wanted to do a 3D projection mapping on the field like you see at NHL arenas.
Yeah, those are cool.
But you don't see them much at baseball because you don't have many opportunities where it's dark enough to see it. So it was something that was going to lead into the fireworks show. So Sean then came up with this idea, well, why don't we do a short film and make it like National Treasure meets 24? And I got to write and direct this action-adventure short film where the Fanatic has to save the world. And Mickey Morandini plays a part in it. Chase Utley plays a part in it. Bryce Harper, Ryan Howard, Mike Schmidt, Jimmy Rollins are all in it. I got to use a lot of my friends and contacts from the film industry. And essentially, it's an 8-minute film that has us going through all the major sites in Philadelphia. And when the Fanatic gets to the stadium in real time, he then came out live on the field. So it was like a Disney World 4D experience that then led into this 3D or 4D projection show. And then it ended with the fireworks show. And it became this big immersive experience. The first night we did it, we had, I think it was 36,000 tickets. We sold out the second show based on word of mouth. I think we sold 8,000 more tickets because people were talking on social media about how cool the show was.
Wow.
So we put the film together, we put it out on YouTube, and our team just won an Emmy for it.
So cool.
That is
Congratulations.
Cool. Thank you. I really enjoy what I do. I'm very fortunate that I get to do what I do. And I'm making a living making movies for the Phillies. I mean, it's really what I do.
Jess, I have a great idea. So in the interview, Mike referenced the whole idea of he does the hype videos.
Yeah.
We need a hype video for this podcast.
You should have asked him while he was here.
Well, remember he said they turn off the lights.
Yeah.
And they do these like pow, 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 pow. They do. Well, he didn't make those sound effects. He made other sound effects actually in the actual interview. But imagine if we had lasers and stuff to promote this podcast.
I mean,
especially this episode.
Yeah, we should talk to Derek an advancement about the budget for laser light shows.
We can get pyro or something. But
Listen,
no, how cool was that gig he's got?
It's so cool. And what you all missed was that Rob got to try on the World Series ring, and it looked just ridiculous on your finger. It's a huge ring.
It's a huge ring, and I'm not a big cat either, so it just makes it. It took up my whole hand here, basically.
What was it like to try that on?
It was heavy.
Yeah,
it was heavy. Yeah, but it was great. It was Mike is doing great things at the Phillies. It's kind of cool to have him come back to studio where it all sort of started, and he got his love for TV and film.
Hasn't been here in 10 years, which is wild because, like he said, he spent so much time here. I know.
He's around the corner.
I know. We got to get these people back in studio. Yep.
A lot of alums who I feel like it's almost like out of sight, out of mind, where sometimes you're so close to it, you don't see it. But
I know. We got to get him back here more often.
Yeah.
Really, the first thing on his radar will be to record a
First thing on my radar is I'm going to go home and start looking on that lasers. I'm going to start writing that email.
We have some alums that, pretty much have drones.
Yeah. Oh, maybe we need. Oh, that's what we should do.
Yes, we should get them. Okay. We really need to get them on the pod as well. So if you're interested in being on the pod,
you have drone or lasers in your space.
Yeah, or nothing related to that. You could go to go.rowan.edu/BTF BTBG guest. So that's Beyond the Brown and Gold. So BTBG guest. And we want to know more about your story as well.
You've been listening to Beyond the Brown and Gold on Rowan Radio 89.7 WGLS FM. You can find more episodes on your favorite podcasting platforms by searching for Beyond the Brown and Gold or Rowan Radio On Demand.